My girlfriend and my brother used my dad's death to fund their affair, then I found out. They forged my signature, stole $200,000 meant for me, and called me Captain Cardigan, behind my back. Hi, I'm Jake, 32, and last month my life blew up when I found out my girlfriend and my younger brother were planning to run away together, using the money from my dead father's life insurance policy. I should have noticed something was off the moment Claire started calling my brother Jay instead of Jason. Everyone in the family calls him Jason. Even he calls himself Jason. But one day at dinner, she laughed at something he said, something stupid, like a joke about microwave popcorn, and went, "Oh my God, Jay, stop." Like it was the most natural thing in the world. That was 3 weeks ago. I'm telling this story now because I think I'm finally out of the fog. But back then I was still the idiot who thought he was about to propose to his girlfriend of 5 years. Claire and I met at a mutual friend's bonfire when we were 26. She was sarcastic and blonde and beautiful in that chaotic, wine-drunk in the morning kind of way. I was a safe guy. I worked in finance. I had a retirement account and car insurance and parents who hugged me too often. She said I made her feel grounded. Turns out, she preferred turbulence. My brother Jason had always been the family wild card. He was 2 years younger, perpetually job-hopping, gym-obsessed, and living in a rented loft downtown that smelled like vape juice and betrayal. We were close once, when we were kids. He used to cry if I didn't let him sit next to me at dinner. But as adults, things drifted. I was the one who stayed. He was the one who ran. Dad passed away last fall. Heart attack. Sudden and brutal. The kind of grief that grabs you by the throat when you're buttering toast. He left everything to Mom, of course, but he also left behind a $200,000 life insurance policy meant to help the boys. His words. Me and Jason. Split 50/50ths. I used my half as a down payment on a house for Claire and me. Jason? Who knows? He told us he was investing it. Which for Jason could mean anything from cryptocurrency to giving it to a guy named Blade to start a jet ski repair business. Whatever. I didn't press. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago. I'm working late. I come home around 10. Claire's already in bed, scrolling through her phone. I kiss her goodnight and head to the kitchen to grab a drink. And that's when I hear it. Her phone buzzes, once then twice, and I swear I wasn't trying to look, I really wasn't, but her screen lit up and the preview said, "Can't stop thinking about last night. Wish you were here instead of him. Jay kiss Mark." My blood ran cold. Jay? I waited. Buzz. Another one. "You smell like summer. I'm losing my mind." I walked back into the bedroom. Claire had turned the phone over. Face down. I stood there for a solid 10 seconds trying to decide if I was crazy or if I was about to discover the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Spoiler, it was both. I walked to the bathroom, shut the door, and sat on the edge of the tub for a while, staring at the grout between the tiles like it had answers. I waited until she was asleep. Then I went back, picked up her phone, and unlocked it. I knew the passcode. Of course I did. It was my birthday. And just like that, everything fell apart. There were hundreds of messages. Hundreds. Between her and Jason. Jay. Back and forth, going back months. Photos, videos, voice notes. Some of them so explicit I felt like I needed a medical professional just to keep reading. They had a nickname for me. Captain Cardigan. Claire thought it was hilarious that I liked sweaters. Jason thought it was hilarious that I didn't notice they were texting while sitting across from me at Thanksgiving. The final knife? A screenshot of a bank transfer. Claire had sent Jason $15,000. From my dad's money. My phone slipped from my hand and hit the tile with a crack. She stirred in bed. I froze. But she didn't wake up. I stood over her for a minute, just watching her sleep, like I was trying to remember who she'd been to me. Then I went into the kitchen, poured myself a drink I didn't need, and started taking screenshots. Every message. Every photo. Every call log. Because if there's one thing you need to know about me, it's this. I don't get mad first. I get even. The next morning, I didn't say a word. I made Claire coffee like I always did, cream, no sugar. I kissed her on the temple, told her to have a good day, and watched her walk out the door wearing the same hoodie Jason had left at my place during a football game 2 months ago. Yeah. That one stung. I didn't go to work. I called in sick and spent the entire day turning my apartment into a war room. Opened up a fresh Google Doc, labeled it the Betrayal blueprint, and started cataloging everything. Timeline, transactions, messages, transfer receipts. Cross-reference dates. Match Claire's excuses for being at yoga with Jason's calendar posts about getting cardio in. Turns out, they were really into cardio. Just not the kind that burns calories. I also checked Jason's Instagram. Rookie move on his part, he posted a story from a rooftop bar 2 weekends ago, tagged the bar, timestamp visible. Claire had told me she was at a bachelorette in Nashville. I remember buying her a new suitcase for that trip. That night I texted my mom. Hey, can I come by tomorrow? Need to talk about something. Just us. She replied within minutes. Of course, honey. Is everything okay? Not really. But it will be. I didn't sleep. Not even a minute. My brain wouldn't shut up. I kept cycling through every memory of Claire and Jason, times they'd laughed too hard at each other's jokes, the way she always asked me if we had to invite Jason to dinner, the weird tension that used to feel like sibling rivalry but now read like foreplay. At 4 a.m., I started packing. Not her things. Mine. Because this wasn't gonna be a confrontation in our shared living room. This was gonna be a reveal. A carefully staged demolition where I got to be the one holding the detonator. When Claire got home the next evening, everything looked normal. I'd left for work that morning, made sure the kitchen was clean, even left her a note by the sink that said, "Dinner's on me tonight. Hope you're hungry." She probably thought that was romantic. Meanwhile, I was at my mom's house, showing her the screenshots. To her credit, she didn't cry. But she did clutch her coffee mug so tight I thought it might shatter in her hands. "Jason?" she said. "Jason did this?" I nodded. "And Claire too," I added like it needed emphasis. "They've been seeing each other for almost a year. Behind my back. Using Dad's money. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just need you to know. Because what I'm about to do, it's going to burn bridges." She looked up at me. "Then light the match, sweetheart. I raised you to stand up for yourself? Not to get walked on by cowards. I swear, if I didn't already love my mother, I'd have proposed to her on the spot." Back at the apartment, Claire was FaceTiming Jason while cooking pasta when the TV suddenly flickered on. She paused, confused. The soundbar kicked in. And then, my voice. I'd connected my laptop to the TV from my mom's place. "Hey babe," I said, my voice echoing across the apartment. "Hope the pasta doesn't burn. Also, I hope you enjoy this little compilation I made. I call it Jay and Claire, the greatest betrayal never told." I'd edited together the worst messages. The nudes. The voice notes. Her moaning his name on a video call while I was supposedly on a business trip. A full director's cut. I wish I could have seen her face. But I didn't need to. Because 20 minutes later, she started blowing up my phone. Calls. Texts. Voicemails. All of them unread, unheard, unanswered. Then came the furious banging on my mom's door. It was Jason. "Open the door, Jake!" he shouted. "You don't understand." Oh, I understood just fine. I let him pound for a while. Then I opened the door just enough to look him in the eye. "You stole from me," I said quietly. "You stole from Dad. And you *****ed my girlfriend. So no, I'm not opening the door. And I'm not your brother anymore." Then I closed it. Hard. You think that was the end? Not even close. Because what I found out the next morning, that changed everything. Before we continue, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. This will really help me and motivate me to make new videos for you. Love you. It was 9:42 a.m. when I got the email that turned this whole thing from a betrayal story into something else. The subject line just said, "Fraud alert, urgent." It was from the life insurance company. Let me back up. 2 days earlier, I'd logged into the policy dashboard, the one Dad set up before he passed. There was something off about Jason's half of the payout. On paper, it looked like he'd cashed out immediately. But the transaction was weird. Instead of going into his personal checking account, the wire had been sent to a business account under the name JNC Holdings, LLC. I didn't remember Jason ever mentioning starting a business. I sure as hell didn't know anything about JNC Holdings. But I knew what JNC stood for. I'd sent a polite little inquiry to the insurance company. Just playing dumb. Said I was reviewing some family finances and needed clarity on how the disbursement was handled. Totally routine. Well, they replied. Apparently, Jason and Claire had jointly submitted paperwork 2 months after Dad died, stating that I had declined my half of the payout and that the entire $200,000 should be routed into their new business venture. On behalf of the family estate. They'd forged my signature. Twice. I stared at the screen so long, my coffee went cold. $200,000. Gone. Worse than cheating. Worse than lying. This was felony-level fraud. And they'd used my grief, my dad's death, as a launchpad for their snake oil romance/criminal enterprise. I called the insurance rep directly. "Hi, yes, I think there's been a misunderstanding," I said, voice shaking just enough to sound wounded but not erratic. "I never declined my share of the policy. And I certainly didn't sign any documents giving it to them." She paused. "Mr. Weston, are you saying your signature was forged?" "Yes," I said. "And I'll be forwarding you a notarized statement to that effect within the hour. Then we'll be escalating this to our fraud department immediately." "Good. Because I was about to escalate it to hell myself." I texted Claire. "You might want to check your email. And maybe call your lawyer." "Oh wait, you used mine." I didn't get a response. I didn't expect one. I drove straight to the police station with a folder full of evidence, forged docs, digital timestamps, message logs, and my father's original will. I'd already spoken to Jessica, my friend from college who was now a prosecutor. She didn't just give me advice. She met me there. "Jake," she said, holding the folder like it was radioactive. "Do you understand how serious this is?" "I do." "And you're ready to go through with it?" "More than ready." She sat with me through the interview. Walked me through the process. Explained that since it involved interstate wire fraud and financial deception over $100,000, this wouldn't just be a slap-on-the-wrist situation. This could involve prison time. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I felt something strange. Power. Not rage. Not sadness. Just cold, hard control over the people who tried to burn my life down for their little beach house fantasy. The detective asked if I'd be willing to testify if it went to trial. "I'll wear a tux," I said. We filed the report. The wheels were in motion. Meanwhile, Claire finally responded. Not with words. Not with apologies. But with one of the oldest moves in the Betrayal playbook. She lawyered up. Jason too. They sent me a settlement proposal that said if I dropped the complaint, they'd return my share of the money, plus $10,000 for emotional distress. I laughed so hard I nearly popped a blood vessel. I countered with this. You return all of it. Every penny. And you publicly admit what you did. Otherwise, I'll let the state handle it. Oh, and tell Jason I hope orange is still his color. Because what they didn't know was that Dad had written a letter. A handwritten one. I found it in his desk drawer when I was packing up his things. A letter he never mailed, never shared. It was addressed to me and Jason. In it he wrote, "Boys, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Please take care of each other. The money's just money. What matters is family. Protect each other." I protected us. Jason didn't. And now he was going to pay for it. What happened next? Made headlines. If you Google Life Insurance Love Triangle Scam, you'll still find the article. It's a clickbait mess of a headline. Brother and girlfriend forged $200,000 policy in family betrayal bombshell. Victim, they picked the wrong guy. Victim being me, obviously. I didn't authorize that quote, by the way. The reporter added that one after I said, "Yeah, I'm pressing charges, and no, I don't feel bad about it. But I gotta admit, it wasn't wrong." Once the police report was filed and the fraud team confirmed the forged documents, it all happened fast. Claire was served first. She was at her new receptionist job at a wellness spa in Midtown. Apparently, she cried so hard she threw up in the eucalyptus aromatherapy room. Tragic. Jason got served the same afternoon, while coming out of a CrossFit class with a protein shake in hand. You've never lived until you've seen your ex, best friend, turned, blood trader brother drop his shaker bottle in front of a process server who says, "Jason Weston? You've been named in a criminal complaint. Have a nice day." He did not have a nice day. You'd think their lawyer would have told them to lay low. Stay quiet. Wait it out. Nope. Claire posted a note-app apology to her Instagram story. "I never meant to hurt anyone. Love makes us do crazy things. Jay and I were in love. I regret how things happened, but I don't regret following my heart." I screenshotted it and forwarded it to Jessica, who replied with, "That's great. I'll read it out loud in court for laughs." Then came Jason's text. Just one line. "Can we talk?" I left it on read. The investigation dragged out for weeks. I kept my head down. Went to work. Hit the gym. Saw a therapist because, shocker, I had trust issues. But I didn't back down. Every time I second-guessed whether I was doing the right thing, I'd reread the texts they sent each other. Like this one, from Claire. "If we do this right, Jake will never know. We'll be drinking piña coladas by Christmas." Or Jason's reply. "He's always been too nice. That's why it's so easy." Yeah. That one always got me back in the game. Eventually, their lawyer folded. Completely. Claire and Jason agreed to a full return of the $200,000, plus an additional $25,000 in damages. The company required a formal written apology to me and a statement submitted to the fraud department acknowledging that they had acted with deceptive intent. Translation: they admitted guilt. No jail time, because I agreed to settle. I was advised the criminal trial would drag on for months, cost me a fortune, and, worst of all, force me to be in the same room as both of them repeatedly. I wanted peace. Not headlines. So I took the deal. A week later, I got a certified envelope with a cashier's check and 2 typed apology letters. Jason's was short. Formal. Like someone else wrote it. Not a word of emotion. Claire's, well, she tried. "Jake, I loved you once. That wasn't fake. But I made choices I can never undo. I betrayed you. I stole from you. I'll live with that shame forever. I don't expect your forgiveness. I just hope you find happiness. Claire." I didn't reply. What was there to say? She hoped I'd find happiness? I already had. Because nothing heals quite like financial justice. I used part of the payout to book a vacation. Alone. 5 days in Maui. Oceanfront room. Spa package. Private snorkeling tour. Every night I walked the beach, drank overpriced cocktails, and watched the sun go down without a single trace of betrayal hanging over me. One night, I ran into a woman named Emily. Solo traveler. Graphic designer from Portland. Witty, red wine kind of woman. We started talking. Then talking turned into dinner. Dinner turned into breakfast. But this story isn't a romance. Not yet. Because right when I started thinking I might actually be done with this whole saga, Jason showed up at my apartment. And he brought someone with him. I opened the door and nearly laughed in his face. Jason stood there in his usual backwards cap and smug, wounded Labrador expression, but the real shock was the woman beside him. "Mom." I blinked. Is this an ambush?" I asked, already backing up. "No," Mom said quickly. "Not an ambush. I asked him to bring me. I told him I needed to see you. Both of you." Jason looked at the floor like it owed him money. He hadn't made eye contact yet. I'm not sure this is the best time," I said carefully, already bracing for emotional whiplash. "Jake," Mom said softly, stepping into the doorway. "I know you're still hurting. And you have every right to be. But if you don't let me say what I came here to say, I won't sleep tonight. That's what got me. That line. Because my mom? She's not the guilt trip type. She's the casserole and cozy blanket type. So I stepped aside, even though everything in me was screaming not to. They sat on the couch. I didn't offer drinks. I didn't sit." Jason cleared his throat. "I'm not here to defend anything. I know I ruined everything. I said nothing. I just wanted you to know that I moved out of the loft. I sold the business account. I paid everything back. Because you were legally forced to," I said. "That's not a moral win, Jason. That's compliance." He winced. "I know." I turned to Mom. "Why are we doing this? What's the play here?" She looked older than I remembered. Like the weight of both her sons' dysfunction had carved a permanent frown line into her soul. "Because you're my boys," she said. "And because I have lived 6 months with a knot in my chest wondering if I've permanently lost you both. Jason betrayed you. You were right to cut him out. But I needed to try. One time. Just to see if you two could look at each other like brothers again." I let out a breath that sounded more like a growl. "Mom, he didn't steal my PlayStation. He didn't scratch my car. He slept with my girlfriend, stole my inheritance, forged legal documents, and told her I was a loser while they planned to run off and open some beachfront smoothie bar in Florida. It was Costa Rica. Jason muttered before catching himself. Oh my God! I snapped. You corrected me? Sorry. He mumbled, hands up. I stood there, heart pounding in my chest like it was trying to escape. But what hit hardest wasn't Jason's presence. It was the expression on my mom's face. That weary, desperate hope of a parent trying to tape together a glass that shattered years ago. I turned to her. Mom, I love you. I always will. But you can't fix this. You shouldn't try to. He made his choices. I know, she whispered. I just miss having both my sons in the same room without flinching. For a beat, nobody said anything. The clock ticked loudly from the wall. Jason rubbed his hands over his face like he was trying to pull his skin off. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, he said, finally looking at me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For real. I was jealous of you. Always have been. That stopped me cold. Jealous? I repeated, stunned. Of me? You had everything, he said quietly. Dad's respect. A stable life. A real relationship. I was the screw-up. I always figured Claire was out of your league and one day you'd screw it up. And when you didn't, I guess I don't know. I wanted to win something for once. I stared at him. And your idea of winning was screwing your brother's girlfriend and stealing funeral money? He swallowed. Yeah. I know how that sounds. It's messed up. But I've been in therapy. Trying to figure out why I keep wrecking the people closest to me. That's a start, I said with no warmth. Jason stood up. I'm gonna go. I shouldn't have come. Just wanted to say it, that's all. He turned to the door. Then stopped. I don't expect anything from you. But if you ever need something, anything, I'll show up. Even if you never speak to me again. He opened the door and walked out. Mom stood too, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry, she said. I shouldn't have asked you to do this. I just needed to try. I hugged her. Tight. Because she didn't deserve to be in the middle of this garbage fire. She kissed my cheek and left, quietly closing the door behind her. I stood there alone again, surrounded by silence, wondering what kind of man I was becoming. One who could forgive. Or one who couldn't. That night, I opened my laptop and booked another flight to Maui. Same beach. Same ocean. But this time, I wasn't going alone. The ocean didn't care what I'd been through. That was my first thought as the sun dipped low behind the horizon, bleeding gold across the waves. Claire and Jason's drama felt like ancient history out here. The wind didn't know my name. The palm trees didn't whisper betrayal. For the first time in over a year, I felt like myself again, quiet, still, steady. And not alone. Emily laughed beside me, brushing sand off her leg as she sipped a drink called something ridiculous like pineapple anxiety. She had this sarcastic smirk that reminded me that life could be weird and beautiful at the same time. We'd kept in touch since the last trip. Video calls, memes, even one awkward attempt at a virtual cooking date that ended with both of us eating cereal. When I asked her to come with me this time, I honestly expected a polite no. Instead, she said, yeah, I could use some bad decisions and better sunsets. And that's what we made, better sunsets. We didn't talk much about the past. She knew the outline, cheating ex, backstabbing brother, stolen inheritance, but she never pried. When she asked how I was really doing, it wasn't out of nosy curiosity. It was more like she was holding a mirror and saying, take a look, but I'm not going anywhere. On our last night, she looked at me over dinner and said, you look lighter. I feel lighter. Good. You don't deserve to carry other people's rot. Rot? I laughed. You know what I mean. Their choices. Their mold. Let them carry it. I looked at her for a long time after that. Maybe it wasn't love yet, but it was something. Something good. We flew back to the mainland, and for once, I didn't feel like I was returning to the wreckage of a life. I had a new job lined up in the spring. A new apartment waiting in a better neighborhood. I was putting things back together, just without the parts that used to hurt me. I never spoke to Claire again. Not once. But a few months after Maui, I got a letter from Jason. Handwritten. No return address. Jake. I know this probably goes straight into the trash, but I needed to try. I don't expect forgiveness. I probably don't deserve your time, your thoughts, or even your hatred. I'm in a recovery group now, not just for what I did to you, but for the way I've blown up my life over and over. I've realized a lot of things. Most of all, I've realized that being your brother was the only decent thing I ever had going for me. and I threw it away. I still think about Dad. Every day. I think about what he'd say if he saw what I did. I think about what I'd say if I could talk to him now. I hope you're happy. I hope you found someone good. And if this is the last thing you ever hear from me, that's okay. Jason. I didn't write back. But I didn't throw it away either. I kept it in a drawer with Dad's old watch and the letter he wrote us, the one about taking care of each other. It felt symbolic, I guess. Like maybe it mattered that Jason was finally writing the kind of thing he should have said years ago. 2 months later, I got invited to Mom's birthday dinner. It was small, just her, a couple friends, one aunt who still asked me if I was dating any nice girls with full-time jobs. Typical. I said yes. I almost canceled when I saw Jason was invited too. But I didn't. We didn't talk much. He stayed on his side of the table, I stayed on mine. But we didn't flinch. And when we both reached for the same bottle of sparkling water, he smiled and said, "Go ahead." Small, but something. After dinner, I walked out to the porch for air. Jason followed. We stood there in silence for a while, just two guys who used to be brothers, watching the stars like they might offer some kind of script. Finally, he said, "I'm glad you're okay." "Thanks. I saw pictures of you and that girl." "Emily?" "Yeah. She seems good for you." "She is." More silence. Then, "I've been sober for 6 months," he said. "That's good. I don't expect things to go back to how they were." "They won't." He nodded. "But if there's ever a time you want to grab a beer, or a coffee," he added, correcting himself with a grin, "I'd say yes." I didn't answer. But I didn't say no. We said goodbye, and I left with no heaviness in my chest. Just clarity. Later that night, Emily texted me. "So, how was the circus?" "Surprisingly civil," I wrote back. "I didn't even throw anything," she replied with a gif of a gold star. 6 months later, I moved in with her. A year after that, we adopted a dog. His name is Murphy. He likes sunbeams and hates leaf blowers. I like watching him sleep and knowing my life no longer contains landmines disguised as loved ones. I didn't get revenge in the classic sense. No viral videos. No destroyed careers. No courtroom spectacle with dramatic music playing in the background. But I got something better. I got peace. And every single day I wake up with a woman who sees me in a life that isn't built on betrayal. That's my revenge. That's my win. And trust me, it tastes a hell of a lot better than a piña colada in Costa Rica.